What's up everyone, I'm the kaiju KnK, and this is my quick review for the Twilight Zone Season 2 for the new series. So Twilight Zone Season 2. Came out around the time when I watched Season 1 last year on video. Finally checked it out in my library, hoping it was a vast improvement over the first season, and it was a slight improvement, if I'm being generous. Once again, episodes went on for too long, although there's one instance in this one when an episode didn't go on long enough. And yeah, it's kind of more the same. I don't feel like at least they were shoving social commentary down our throats this time around. It's just that most of it was a miss rather than a hit. So let's go over the episodes here. First, we've got one titled Meet in the Middle, which is about this really creepy perverted dude who ends up hearing this girl's voice in his head, and or actually it's a woman, not a girl. I don't want to make it sound like that type of creeper, but he's still pretty creepy. So he hears this woman's voice in her head, and they start conversing, and he kind of falls in love with her, and some other stuff happens, and they decide to meet up. He kind of gets what he deserves in the end. He deserved exactly what he got. Ugh, such a creeper. Then we have Downtime, which features the lady who plays Deadpool's wife in the Deadpool movies. She's a hotel manager, and basically it's an isekai series from Japan. Like Dot Hack, Sword Art Online. It's kind of weird. Usually everything rips off the Twilight Zone, but now the Twilight Zone is ripping off something else. It wasn't a bad episode. It wasn't exactly my favorite. It had some interesting stuff going on, especially when people started acting completely different. Overall, it was meh. The next one we have is The Who of You, which was actually a really good episode until the end. It's about this actor who can't get any jobs, so he can't pay bills, so he decides to go and rob a bank, and anyone he looks at in the eyes, he just switches bodies with them. And the whole episode actually kind of made me think of Fallen with Denzel Washington. He would just swap bodies with someone. The only difference between the two is that whenever he took someone's body over, the other person would wake up in his body. And it was a very interesting premise. It was really well paced, but then when the ending happened, it was like, oh, so he learned absolutely nothing from this ordeal. Okay. That's not very Twilight Zone-like. At least classic Twilight Zone-like. It happened a few times in the 80s series. And then after that, we have Ovation, which was pretty much the comedian, but with a musician. The struggling musician girl gets this medallion from another musician who's popular. That musician dies. So this girl suddenly becomes all popular because of this medallion. And she starts to realize that she could do anything and everyone's cheering for her, like the comedian. And then she gets rid of the medallion, but then the episode just keeps going with her having a mental breakdown from not being famous anymore, and there's a new famous person, and it went nowhere. It had nothing to say. If when they got rid of the medallion, the narrator had popped up and said, Jasmine has just learned that being a most famous person may not always be what it's cracked up to be. That's just another adventure for the Twilight Zone. Then the episode would have been really solid. Instead, it didn't end there. It just kept going. And then when it does end, the narrator shows up. He picks up the medallion, puts it in his pocket, and then starts clapping and walks away. It was like, at that point, he's like, I've got nothing to really end this story with. So we're just going to do this because I have no commentary to make. Because this episode was nothing. It was about nothing. Nothing happened. After that, we have Among the Untrodden, which was with this girl that might have psychic abilities, so another girl who's a new student starts testing her. It was a pretty enjoyable episode. It kind of lasted about 5 minutes longer than it needed to, but again, overall, I'll take it compared to what else was happening in this season and last season. After that, we have 8, which is an episode that was like, basically I thought of Underwater from last year. That horror movie with Kristen Stewart. Can't believe I'm actually praising that movie, but it was a really good movie. This episode had Joel McHale playing a really super smart, serious scientist guy that was hard to take seriously? An octopus gets into their base and it's smart and starts killing them. It has Jack, who played SPD Red in Power Rangers SPD, as one of the characters in there. About 30 minutes into the episode, all of a sudden, Joe McHale starts spouting the entire plot and what the octopus's main goal was based on what one of the other girls' main goal was. And it's like they're just like, you know what, this episode's going nowhere. We need to wrap this up right now. So we're just going to have Joe McHale downpour 2 minutes of exposition for the last 3 minutes of the episode, and that's it. It just didn't make any sense, which sucked because there was a lot of suspense and tension going on earlier in the episode. So those last 5 minutes, 8 minutes, completely killed the entire thing. Just awful, awful, awful. I would rather watch The Thing over this episode. Well, The Thing is good, so of course I would. After that, we have A Human Face, which is about 2 stupid-ass old white people being tricked by an alien who takes the form of their daughter. That's all the episode is about. That's all that happens. It's really, really dumb. Just a dumb episode all around. And then we have A Small Town, which kind of felt like an episode that Rod Serling would have done. But again, it keeps on going. In this one, a guy whose wife is the mayor, and she dies in an accident. So the mayor that replaces her wants nothing to do with the job. He doesn't care about the town. He's just selling people out, selling the town out. The husband discovers in the attic of this church a model city replica of the town, and anything he does to the model happens to the real town. So he starts repairing everything, all these potholes, putting in all these lights and everything. And it was kind of interesting, but then again it dragged on, and the last act kind of ruined the whole thing. One interesting aspect is Damon Wayans Jr. was the star of this episode, and he looks just like his dad. In fact, at first I thought it was Damon Wayans. After that, we have an episode with Topher Grace playing this guy in a museum who's a really, really creepy dude. He's just like walking around with this girl he saved from getting hit by a truck and just like hitting on her and knows a lot about her, and then you learn why. It's kind of like a Groundhog's Day thing, except not even remotely enjoyable. The episode just keeps going and this guy just keeps going and getting crazier and crazier. Like, oh my god, this dude is such a creep. Get rid of him. What the hell? And then we have the final episode. Oh yeah, I guess I should say that last episode was called Try. And then the final episode is called You Might Also Like, which features a woman who wakes up in her house and has a blackout. She doesn't remember how she got in her bed from what she was doing. She's hearing strange music. And then she records herself and sees herself was floating out the window and stuff. She's trying to figure out what's going on, and there's like these eggs and these commercials that are in the middle of the episode. And I have to tell you, because it has the Kaunamites from To Serve Man, but here they're a bunch of bumbling idiots. I have no idea what their purpose was, why they chose to do that. They went from the super serious race to these guys. We have like this trio of guys, one that's played by anime voice actor Kirk Thornton, and they're just talking and they're being so idiotic with their talk. It was like, are these really the same Kaunamites from the To Serve Man? It was really, really bad. Like, the last 2 episodes of the season were really bad. The worst of the season. And I thought Ovation was still pretty bad. And the stupid-ass white people episode was awful. But nah. Yeah, they saved the worst episode of the season for last. And one of the second worst episodes of the season for also last. Maybe they'll fix it in the 3rd season, because there's going to be a 3rd season. I don't know. At least there was one quite good episode on here, and a couple of decent ones compared to the 1st season. But that's all I've got. Have you watched the Twilight Zone Season 2? Let me know in the comments. Click like, subscribe, the bell notification, whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support me. You can support me on Patreon at Kaiju no Kami, Facebook Kaiju no Kami, Twitter Kaiju no Kami, Instagram Kaiju no Kami, and my website creativitybydesignllc.com. Until next time, bye.